So, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are here to learn a bit about what's going on with the Bay Area arts patronage in the context of also the North American trends and all of that, and the past few years of tumultuous change in what we know about how people attend the arts and how that has been changing pretty rapidly. So. I'm so happy that we are uh, partners with TRG Arts and able to tap into some of this real time data and learn a lot about what's going on uh, pretty quickly as it's happening. And with that, I will let Jenny take it away and teach us all a bit about what's going on.
Okie dokie. So I'm gonna share a slideshow because I know that's what you all wanted to look at on your lunch break here. Um, Here we go. Okay, so my name is Jenny, for those of you that we have yet to meet. I'm a consulting analyst for TRG Arts. We're basically going to focus on talking about repeat attendance today and kind of the importance of it and that data is showing and suggesting. But TRG, for those of you that don't know, we'll get into this a little bit. We're a marketing consulting firm specializing in arts and culture. Um, and what I will say about this deck, it is very dense. It's very long. You will get a link to this after today with a recording. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically do I'm going to bookend it. I'm going to walk through the first beginning slides and the end slides. The middle kind of digs really deep into the details, which you can peruse later. And then at the end of the deck, there is my email as well as my meeting scheduler link. So if you want to touch base with me one-on-one, if you have questions, you can email me or reach out to me for all of those things. But just so you know, so you're going to skip a lot of slides in the middle, just so we can stay on our time and leave time for questions. I also, please answer or ask questions through the course. Like, don't mind interrupting me. In case I don't see you, maybe Art or Hillary, you can just shout at me. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so just for some context, here's where we are. Um, so churn rates, right? If that's not a terminology that you know, churn rates are basically folks that come once and then never come back. We churn through those audiences. So for 17-18, the range was 62 to 80%. Didn't return the following season. For 21-22, we're seeing the churn rates significantly higher. So 80 to 95% did not return in 22-23, which is a pretty big, it's a pretty big jump. Um, oh yeah, here's the TRG stuff. So all of this data is coming from our arts and culture benchmark, which is a free to join thing if you have a compatible CRM. We actually just got a grant to build 7 more DDXs, daily data extraction tools for 7 more CRMs. So we're excited about that. We're going to add a lot more of those, which is very exciting. But basically, you just sign up on our website. It's free. You can look at comparative analysis between your organization and the national trends, which is fun. Okay, so keep those churn rates in the back of your mind, right? We now have significantly more people, 80 to 95%, that are coming once and not coming back the following year. Ooh, too far. Um, for just generally where we are, 2019 versus 2023, right? We will forever be comparing data to 2019, right? Pre-pandemic. But we are finally at a point. We've been doing these presentations for years. We're finally at a point where we're seeing positive numbers on this slide, which is very exciting. So we're 20% increase in revenue over 2019, 1% increase in units, which is tickets. This is for performing arts centers. So we have them kind of bucketized, for lack of a real word, into like museums, symphony orchestras, theaters, and PACs, and ballet dance companies, just to give us more of an apples to apples comparison. Um, So this is really exciting for all of us that work in the industry, right? There is positive growth, positive momentum. The discrepancy there between the increase in revenue and the increase in units just means that tickets are more expensive, right? Okay, this is also very interesting. So let me just kind of adjust you to what this chart is telling you. This is the percent change in the generational attendance between 2019 and 2023. So you will see that, move you over here. As a lot of people know, right, for a while coming out of the pandemic, these numbers for boomers, silent, and greatest really dipped down, which was really hurting folks' bottom line because most of those folks are the ones that are subscribers or donors or really kind of higher advocate investors in the organization. So financially, that really hurt a lot of folks. So we're seeing a little bit of a reversal of that for the boomers, which is nice, right? We're 10% increase from 2019 to 23. Um, and then a little bit of an increase higher than that in the Gen Xers, about 25%, 60% increase in millennials, and 80% increase in Gen Z between 2019 and 2023 attendance. Gen Z, probably because they're, you know, a little older now than they were in 2019, right? So they're in college or they have jobs, they have some income, they're out and doing things, right? So that's some of that is natural as far as phase of life. But these two are really positive trends in thinking about our long-term health and sustainability of our organizations. So that's really, really exciting. Happy to see that. And then per capita revenue, right? It's just kind of another way of looking at ticket price. So this is what you're going to see. This makes sense, right? To thinking about that 20% increase in revenue, 1% in units, right? The average ticket price is higher. What is interesting to me, though, is that the peaks and valleys are Bay Area specific, right? So we have 24 organizations that are in the benchmark specifically from the Bay Area. So I've pulled some stats in here that are Bay Area specific, which is really kind of fun. So again, to orient you to the color scheme here, the pink is 3 years ago. The kind of, I don't know, light blue is this year. The darker blue is last year, and the yellow is 2 years ago. This is average ticket price, right? So generally, this year is trending significantly higher. 3 years ago, this is, I think, when we were seeing all of that surge of like online programming and people donating tickets, like come like that was like COVID recovery engagement, I think, is what this peak is here. But generally speaking, right, we're trending significantly better. Again, finally, which is exciting to see. And then here is your overall ticket revenue. So same thing as far as the colors go. This year is this top. It's top all the way, which is really exciting. I pulled these mid-September, so the September numbers are not quite accurate. But this is great, right? This is what we want to see. Significant increases in last year's and the past 3 years' revenue. That's great. I was super curious about April. I asked Art and Hillary, I was like, what happens in the Bay Area in April that there's this giant spike of tickets for all these years? So anyway, if anyone has ideas as to why that is, I would be interested to hear. It's not a spike we see in other markets, so I'd be curious. Okay, so this is a question that I get all the time is that ticket sale, people are buying later, right? People are buying tickets. So here's the actual the data. they're not buying later. They were always buying the same, they were buying them the same timeline. So this is weeks out before performance. And so 2019 is like the sagey green, and 2023 is the blue. And I just want to say, right, it is almost exactly the same. So for everybody that feels like people are buying later, I think a lot of that has to comes into might be that folks are buying later. Um, so I just want to, people have always bought late, not new data. So just putting
Oh,
that to rest for right now.
oh.
Okay, this is where I'm going to jump. We have a whole bunch of stuff in here that's about increasing your recurring revenue. So memberships, subscription models that are monthly giving, like all of those kinds of things. Because TRG, we're also working on these studies about my CEO likes to call it stickiness. So, right, if the churn rate is a real problem, which we know that it is, how do we increase the stickiness of people? And getting them on some sort of recurring attendance, recurring payment,
Loyalty.
something is going to increase that stickiness. So there's a lot of stuff in the middle of this deck that is specific examples of organizations that are doing this. The Arkansas Symphony has a great example about they charge $9 a month, basically for a like see it all type of membership where folks can come to any concert of the orchestra season at any time. Anyway, so there's a lot of really great industry examples in the middle here of increasing the recurring revenue, increasing your patron loyalty, right? Creating all of that stickiness so that you don't have to spend all of that money on constantly getting new audiences in the door because new audience acquisition is more expensive, as we all know. It takes longer. It's like a slow burn to get people to buy tickets for the first time. Um, so the more that we can increase all of those things, the better off everyone's going to be. So let me just jump ahead here a little bit. While I figure out where my screen went, are there any questions on the data that we just went through as far as the demographics? And if you all are a part of TBA's audience database, you just a reminder, you can run your own demographic reporting on your organization and kind of just see how it compares to that national like generational shifts and see if your organization is experiencing the same thing or not. Maybe I do want to show you. Where are we on time? 12:16. I'm going to show you this slide before I jump to the end. Um, so this is the acronym with TRG. We love our acronyms. Um, RFMG is the big thing that we're studying and paying attention to right now. And that basically boils down to this. So recency, frequency, monetary, and growth. This is the way that we are tracking patron stickiness, that we are looking at increase in um, yeah, like a decrease in that churn, increase in repeat buying, right? All of these are the things, right? So recency are how many folks in your database are coming back within 2 years. Frequency, how many of your ticket buyers come more than once per season. Monetary, right, is obviously the average spend per household is what we look at. And then the growth over time, right? So these are the factors that kind of mix together to create a really successful arts organization. So um, these these actual stats here are from the benchmark as a whole. Um, But again, you can look at these for your organization, and I'm happy to help you with that calculus if you need. But basically, the more recent, the more frequent, the higher monetary spend, and the growth over time will just create more advocates in your data pool as opposed to just triers, which are folks that come once every 2 or 3 years and don't increase their spend and they don't buy better seats and they don't add on the thing and right. Um, so this is the framework by which TRG is measuring all of this stuff right now. So just for some context. Okay. Now I really am gonna jump ahead here. There is a ton of data in here about like more retention trends, and things like that. Again, you can take a look at all of this. Um, there's a lot of collateral examples in here, like I said. Um, and you are more than welcome to dig into all of this. Um, what do I want to start with? So my goal was to stop talking by 12:30, so we have time for questions. Okay, I'm gonna jump to this slide here. Okay, no, go back. So I thought this was absolutely fascinating. So again, this is the Bay Area data here is from the 24 organizations that are in our benchmark. So patron retention since 2021. So again, recency, frequency, monetary, and growth are the four data points we're monitoring really closely. The industry average of retention since 21 is 43%. TRG clients, 58%, but Bay Area, 65%. So as a collective, as a network, as an arts landscape, your patrons are stickier than we're seeing across the nation as a whole, which is really exciting. I'm super curious if people in the room feel that that is true of their organization, or not. On the flip side of that, the frequency piece of it, so how often are people coming? The creation of multi-buyers since 2021, which is people that are buying at least two things in an 18-month window, right? Which is usually a season, sometimes season and a half, right? The industry average is 25%, which goes to that churn rate, right? People that come once and then leave. Our consulting clients, a little bit better than that, 32%. And the Bay Area data here is only 11%. So this is super interesting to me. So basically, you as a collective here have definitely have a churn challenge. You have a lot of people that are coming once and not coming back, um, or at least not coming back within an 18-month time frame. Could be, I haven't run this data, could be that they just have a longer timeline between engagements. Um, but this is so fascinating to me. So this is basically saying that the people that are loyal, that are sticky, that are advocates are there and they are staying. You have major staying power in the arts and culture landscape in the Bay Area network. But we're not creating new folks that are coming back with any sort of frequency to the percentage that will like fill that pipeline over time. So I think if right, I am purely a data nerd when it comes to this. I don't live in your area. But I would say if there was one thing that as a whole there needs should be probably be some focus on, it would be this. So how do we retain the folks that are coming in the door and decrease some of that churn? Because here's some if-then numbers, right? If we only had 1% less churn, it could result in $327,000 of revenue, right? Which is where did my dollar signs go? Anyway, um, which is pretty massive amount of money, right? And again, this is collective as a whole. So if you're looking at the Bay Area as one operating organization, right? $327,000 is, in theory, what we could make from retaining 1% more of those people. If we got 1% more of our single ticket buyers to buy one extra ticket, right? That's a bring a friend or a comeback, right? Buy one extra ticket. That could potentially be $80,000 of growth in ticket revenue, right? So it minor shifts here could have major financial impact in your organizations, right? I like to do these if-thens. I think this calculus is really fun, um, because 1% doesn't feel like a lot when you say it like that. Now it is 1,600 households, right? If you look at again, looking at the those 24 organizations as one kind of collective organization. Um, but still, 1,600 households, it's not a huge amount, right? It's only 1%, but that could be a significant revenue, $327,000. So I really like the if then calculus. So because you have such a high percentage of people that are loyal, that are recent and frequent, that's great. So how do you just get those people, that the churn rate down a little bit? Because this $327,000, that's just the first year, right? And TRG's data would suggest that the minute you move people up from that first time single ticket buyer to a repeat ticket buyer, it's so much easier to get them to come back a third and a fourth time to buy better seats, to increase, right, their attendance, to add on a thing, so getting over that hurdle of that second time attendance will have really significant revenue impacts for you this year. And then the ripple effects of that for years to come are really positive. So, um, yeah, so that's fun. I think it's fun. Any questions about this?
I just wanted to jump in real quick. One of the things
Please.
that really kind of put a button on this idea for me was uh, the examples that you had grabbed. I think it was from the Arkansas Symphony of how they um, pitched how after the like initial attendance of like a new to file person, they sent the postcard with the pitch for joining their subscription program, and the conversion that made to from that new to file to the single ticket buyer, or the longer term relationship. If you wanted to talk a bit about identifying your new to file folks and what that next step is.
Yeah, happy to. So TRG Council, like our bread and butter, is all about right person, right message, right time, right? That's the thing that you'll hear if you watch any TRG webinars. Usually it'll come down to that RFMG and then right message, right person, right time. Um, for your new to files, if you are an audience database member, if you have access to that, I'm happy to talk to you about how to find your new to files. You basically would just include, for those of you, we have some people in the room that are audience database people. Is that true? I don't
I
want
mean,
to talk through it
there were a
unless.
couple that registered, but I'm not
Okay,
seeing. Yeah,
Okay, I'm glad I asked. So I won't talk about the specific mechanics of how to do that in the tool. Sometimes your CRM can do it, right? And sometimes, um, but the audience database data center tools can help you figure that out as well. And basically, the more specific you can be with your messaging to your first time buyers, the better. Most clients we talk to don't segment out their first time buyers. They get the same emails and the same offers that regular single ticket buyers will get. But what Art is talking about with Arkansas Symphony, they kind of decided to shake up things up a little bit. Normally, TRG would tell you that it's like the second date strategy is what they call it. So you wouldn't propose to someone on the second date, right? So you wouldn't ask them to become a subscriber if they've only bought one ticket. However, the The Arkansas Symphony strategy was it's a low price point, $9 a month, and the it like unlimited options. Like so many symphonies, they have 50 million concerts over the course of a season, right? Um, so they decided to give it a try with the collateral that specifically said you attended your first Arkansas Symphony concert. We know you, we hope you loved it. If you want to come back, it's just $9 a month for unlimited access to the thing. And they made the pitch, and it was really successful for them. Now I probably would not have, and I don't think TRG would have them pitch if you have someone that just comes to Christmas Carol every year, that you pitch them your fixed seat 7 series in the orchestra for $800, right? Probably that's probably a mismatch there, right? But if you have like a holiday flex CYO for like it's 3 pack, right? Um, so they get Christmas Carol and they get things that are also in that world. Um, that would be an interesting experiment, right? But talking to folks, acknowledging it's their first performance, is a really valuable step in just getting people to come back a second time. Yeah, it's a fun example in the deck for sure. Any other questions? Oh, Sarah, I'm just looking at the chat now. It's when season subscriptions drop. That's the April spike she was talking about? Interesting. Great. When weather, beginning of spring. Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Now I'm curious to overlay it with some other markets that have similar weather patterns to you all. The springtime coming out of winter. Interesting. I mean, I can keep blathering on. I can dive back into the deck, but if anyone have questions about your specific organization, again, this is all generalities, right? This is data combined to tell a national or a community story. This isn't every organization still going to be different.
Hi, thank you so much for all of this. I'm not, I work for an org that tries to get kids into job placement into different media. So I'm just curious
Cool.
about the 24 Bay Area organizations. Do you have a map of those? I'm curious as to what some of those venues and partners are.
Yes. I don't have it in front of me. But I can send you a list of the organizations that are in there. I would say primarily it's more kind of classic structure, like the museums and the symphonies and the PACs and the theaters. It's more kind of that world, because that's just kind of the industries that the side of the industry that TRG really has connections to. Um, but uh, but yeah, so I don't have specific organizations, but I can send it to you. Yeah. Art, Hillary, what do you think?
Yeah, I shared my question. Hillary,
Yeah.
do you have anything?
I'm mostly soaking it in. And I feel like there's that, overlap of um like the Bay Area experience with the national experience. I think it's a really interesting
Yeah.
dialogue. So I'm just
Yeah.
soaking it in because I
Yeah.
think that, the Bay Area can be such a specific market. And so like seeing that relationship um layered in there
Verizon
is
Wireless. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the
The other thing about the Bay Area that I keep an eye on, it's not specific to repeat attendance, so it's not in this deck, but it's the market where I see the smallest amount of patron crossover between across the network, across organizations, which is so fascinating to me and not what I would have expected. Um, I am based in Los Angeles, in LA, for example. We similarly, but we've had a very slow revenue recovery road from coming out of pandemic, similar to you folks, because we were locked down for so long. Um, And the only data point up until this season, the only data point that was starting to increase above 2019 numbers were the number of people buying tickets to two or more organizations. So in LA, the folks that were out and about are out and about a lot. They're loyal to arts and culture in Los Angeles. They may not necessarily be loyal to just one particular organization in town. Um, but I don't see that up for you all, which I just find so interesting. And I've heard this anecdotally from folks that, ticket buyers from this theater are those ticket buyers and there's not a lot of cross cross attendance, which our projections would tell you that folks that are engaged in another arts and culture organization are more likely to buy tickets to others than people in your area that don't already attend. Um, so I'm so interested as to like what has happened in the Bay Area in the past 20 years the audiences are so specific. Um, I don't know. Someday maybe I'll dig into that a little more, but it's really interesting to me.
I just popped into the chat the link to the page on the arts and culture benchmark. Something that I would love to see, maybe a little selfishly, is for that network to grow so that we could have more in-depth
More
data
data.
for right, like with more types of
Yeah.
organizations and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, the benchmark is free to join. And I was telling Art earlier, and it will continue to be free. TRG has absolutely no plans to change that anytime soon. So, if you have a compatible CRM currently, you can just fill out a form, and our tech team will get you signed up. Um, and like I said, there's 7 more coming in probably the first half of 2025, um, which is very exciting. Okay. Well, I just want to reiterate, right, that you will get the recording to this, right, Art? Are you going to send the recording out to folks?
Yes, yeah.
Um, and I will make sure that they have the PDF version of the deck that has all of the collateral examples and the repeat attendance, like Arkansas Symphony, and there's a few other ones in there, as well as a lot of specific of data as far as growth in certain segment types and things like that. So, if you at any point want to talk about your organization or if you have questions on things, feel free to either use my meeting scheduler link that's in the deck, or reach out to me via email. We're happy to chat.
Yeah, and then I just dropped in the chat as well the link to more information about the audience database. Absolutely love to talk with any of y'all about that in the coming weeks and how it can bring some of these ideas of like following up with new to file folks into a doable pipeline of action in your organization.
Oh, I like
Um,
that. Pipeline of action. I like that. Yes, the
um,
database is an amazing resource for securely sharing and trading patron lists and things like that. It's a great communication campaign planner tool. There's all sorts of audience demographic reports that you can run in there on your database. It's great for grant folks if you need audience like reporting, things like that. It's a really, really valuable tool. Yeah.
and then with that, thank you all so much for joining us today and for all the work that you do to make the Bay Area amazing for arts and culture. And I hope to see you all
Yeah.
soon.
Thanks for coming, everybody.